What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy, JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel, giving a shout out to the rest of the crew. Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. Everyone who's tuning in today, thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel. Help make this show the best that it can be. You know what I'm saying? Now, all this talk about nostalgia, I'm telling for the people out there who come across this video, youth generation, newfound NBA fans, when I say, like, ESPN started in 1979, and it was built on covering and televising men's college basketball games. That's where it really started to take off. That's how it established itself, right? And that's when college basketball was, that's right around the time where the Final Four, the NCAA tournament, really started to become popular. Where they didn't really start calling it the Final Four or dub it the Final Four until, I'm going to say, 1982, when North Carolina defeated Georgetown in that legendary championship game. Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Patrick Ewing, Sleepy Floyd. And then in 1983, when North Carolina State upset Phi Slamma Jamma, the Houston Cougars, featuring Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon. NC State with Sidney Lowe, Derek Wittenberg, Lorenzo Charles, Thurl Bailey. They upset Houston Cougars by the score 54-52. And that's where you saw Jim Valvano, the coach of the North Carolina State Wolfpack. He's just total, delirious, and he run around the court in celebration. And that's when the term Cinderella started coming into play. That's when the Final Four took off, and college basketball became so popular. By the time a top college player entered the professional ranks, we already knew who that college player was. And I'm telling you, it was an amazing time. ESPN then started to cover, other sporting events, football, and then baseball. And it just took off. And then, of course, the NBA. And I'm telling you, ESPN was on its game, man. I'm telling you, it became, as they say, the leader in sports television. And then you had the sports reporters that they would televise every Sunday. I'm telling you, it was a beautiful experience, man. I'm telling you, and they would discuss political issues and social issues, but not to the point where it would overwhelm the focus on sports. It gave you more of a background of an athlete that they would, do a story about, or a team. And what was beautiful about it, you had actual journalists, whether it was a news, journalists who work for esteemed news publications, New York Times, the Washington Press, the Detroit Free Press, the Boston Globe. I'm telling you, man, it was off the freaking charts. So when you come across an instance that I did yesterday, you really see how far sports commentary is falling. And what I mean it is falling, man. It's strictly narrative based. So when you see the best of the best, and when you see the decline, you can pick up and identify agendas and manipulation. So an example of that, hold on one second. An example of that is what I want to talk about now. Okay, now check this out. I came across a segment that they did yesterday on ESPN First Take. And of course, Stephen A. Smith, Magdal Russo, Monica Minut, who I like. and then Molly Curran. So the segment was supposed to be, they did a segue, and they were going to discuss Jayson Tatum and why he's not promoted more by the league. So my mind is focused on, okay, let me see what they're going to say about Jayson Tatum, because, what happened to Tatum during the Olympics last year, I mean, that was, and I'm not even a fan of the Boston Celtics, but see, this is where, when you respect the game, man, you how can I say this? The way fans responded during that time of the 80s and 90s, well, that's how I react to basketball to this day. And that's why I never embraced the whole super team era. I don't even know how to, I don't even see how the stage was set for something like that to go down within the landscape of the NBA, because three franchise players teaming up, you got two top 5 players, well, at the time, probably two top 3, and then a top 10 player joining forces. That would have been laughed at back during the 80s and 90s and the 70s. Them players would have been driven right out the league. They'd have been driven out the league. I'm telling you what would have happened. Okay, so I'm watching the segment yesterday, and they had a silhouette of 3 players. Okay, and they were showing like their production, their career averages by the time they turned 26 years old. Okay, so the one player silhouette, you can clearly see that was Michael Jordan, the bald head and all that. So you knew that was him. The other 2, I wasn't really sure. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay. I said, now the silhouette of the player to the very left, I said that may be Jayson Tatum. I wasn't really sure. And then the third player, I said, that looked like that may have been like a white player. So when they revealed the full image of the players, it was Michael Jordan, Jayson Tatum, Larry Bird. Now, and see, when you hear someone complain about nostalgia, we're not the problem. They continue to bring Michael Jordan's name up, but this is why they did it. This is why they picked Michael Jordan to compare to Jayson Tatum. It was really about Jayson Tatum, comparing Jayson Tatum more so than even Larry Bird. Now, you would think, if they want to compare the achievement of 3 players at a certain point of their career, you would think they would, along with Jayson Tatum, they would compare his career production up until the age of 26 with 2 contemporaries or 2 other players who are currently playing in the league right now. That's not why they did this segment. Okay. So they showed that Larry Bird, the main focus was on who won a championship by the age of 26. So Larry Bird, they showed him, he won his first championship in his second year in the league. So he's probably around 20, because Bird, he entered the league. He, remember, he played 1 year at Indiana University, then he transferred to Indiana State. So he entered the NBA around 23 years old, somewhere around there. But anyway, and then of course Jayson Tatum was a one and done player, so he in the league in 19. So we know Jayson Tatum is the reigning champion. Him in Boston, he and his team, the Boston Celtics, won the championship last year. And Jordan had not won a championship yet at the age of 26. So the reason that they did that was to try to show that Michael Jordan was a loser. You see what I'm saying? But this is how they put the spin on it. This is how you know they're manipulating people. NBA did not draft. They didn't draft high school players throughout the whole decade of the 80s. The last high school player, I believe, who was drafted were like Moses Malone right out of high school. That was in the 70s when he was drafted in the ABA, and then Daryl Dawkins. And then the next high school player, I believe, who was drafted into the NBA was in 1989, Sean Kemp. But from 1980 up until the last year of that decade, the NBA, they didn't even consider that. And that's why you saw such exceptional play by rookies entering the league who were top prospects because they had significant experience at the collegiate level. So instead of focusing on the age, they should have focused on how long a player has been in the league before they won their first championship. And if you do it like that, and this is not a knock on Jayson Tatum. That's just his own individual journey. Jayson Tatum been in the league 7 years. Well, Michael Jordan won his first championship in his 7th year. You see how that works? But they were so keen, and the reason that they brought Larry Bird into the picture is because Bird won his first championship in his 2nd year. You see what I'm saying? But you have to look at the circumstances. See, every player has their own journey. And it's really about when you're in a situation where a team has been built around you to where you're in position to vie for a championship, that's when you should be critiqued as to whether you win or not. It's all about individual circumstance. And it's your journey. The team that you were drafted by, how bad was the team at that point prior to them drafting you? You see what I'm saying? So what I'm getting at is, man, I'm focusing on Jayson Tatum about why he's not being promoted. And then the sentiments were, well, Jayson Tatum, he's a model citizen off the court, but he doesn't generate any drama or excitement. He has a boring personality. Well, that's why the league is in the state that it's in. It shouldn't matter what your personality is. Now, you have some guys out there, man. They're energetic, they're talkative or whatnot. But it's all about winning. That's what they're not understanding. Akeem Olajuwon was a devout Muslim. He didn't talk a lot. He didn't do a whole bunch of commercials, but he was still Akeem the Dream. Olajuwon, he still, had the dream shake in his arsenal. You know what I'm saying? He's still often considered one of the top 10 greatest players that ever played this game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They said he was, he wasn't very talkative. He was kind of to himself or whatnot, but he still had the sky hook. You see what I'm saying? He was still money. You couldn't block that shot. That's what I'm saying, man. And when you hear a comment like that, they want certain players to be highlighted. They want certain players to be promoted. But what they missing out on is what the sport is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about winning. That's what this thing is supposed to be about. So, at the end of the day, that whole segment was a waste of time because, number one, they know Jayson Tatum was slighted as a player for Team USA last summer during the Olympics. He barely got any playing time. He think about this. You just won a championship. You represent the NBA as the newly crowned champion, and you essentially got shafted. Do you know what that means? And they barely squeaked out that gold medal. There were multiple games where they was in position to lose, trying to prove a point. Whereas if you play all your players to their strong suits, maybe when it came down to that. So at the end of the day, they didn't provide any solutions to the problem. And it's not just with Jayson Tatum. Nikola Jokic doesn't get promoted enough. Giannis, he has a personality. You know what I'm saying? He's a entertaining guy. He's somewhat humorous at times, things that he say. But when he won that championship, and the next day after winning the title, he drove around a whole city of Milwaukee, sharing the championship with fellow citizens in the town of Milwaukee, man. Man, do you realize what they could have did with that? Like they're like a summer documentary on Giannis winning the championship, sharing that experience with the whole city of the fans of Milwaukee. Do you realize, man? what they could have did with that, and they had an opportunity to truly move forward. Because since they talk about the ascension of the international basketball player, well, Giannis sitting on top of the world, and they didn't promote him. Same thing with Nikola Jokic 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? They want their cake and want to eat it too. And in the process, winning gets devalued. But to try to, how can I say this? To diminish Michael Jordan. And the thing about it, man, I wasn't even thinking about Michael Jordan. I was thinking about what the subject was supposed to be about, what the segment was supposed to be about. It was supposed to have been about Jayson Tatum. But the reason that they did a segue with Jayson Tatum is to ultimately downgrade Jordan by saying, well, he didn't win no championship. He was still titleless at the age of 26. But the man entered the NBA at the age of 21. I'm telling you, man, this stuff is bonkers, dog. They're obsessed. It's not nostalgia, as Channing Frye would suggest. There was no reason. Matter of fact, like I said, if they want to do comparisons, they could have did comparisons. Why didn't they do that with LBJ? Why didn't they do that with LBJ? LBJ been in the league for 22 years, right? He's still an active player, right? Because the reason they didn't want to include him, because he didn't win until his 9th year in the league. You see what I'm saying? But they want to bag on Jordan. And then they gave an offhand comment saying, well, we know what Jordan did for the league and who he is, but at the end of the day, he didn't win at the age of 26. Well, they didn't tell the audience he entered the NBA at 21. So that means 26, he was only in the league 5 years. With a prime Boston Celtics and a prime Detroit Pistons to try to conquer and overcome, which took time. But when you think about it, like I say, since they wanted, that's what I'm saying. This is what's leading the older fans to speak out about this nonsense, man. And that's why ratings are going down. We're tired of it, man. They want us to focus on the present, right? They want us to focus on the present, but they don't want us to keep on bringing up the past. But since they want to bring up Michael Jordan, if you really think about it, he only played 11 full seasons with the Chicago Bulls and won 6 championships. So that means over 50% of his career with the Bulls playing the full 82 games. You know, without the injury to his foot in the second year, and then him returning back with 17 games to go in the 95 season. He won a championship over 50% of the time with the Chicago Bulls. And he did it fast once he broke through. See, that's the point. That's what they make it seem like he been in the league 20-some years and then start winning till about like year 13. That's what they trying to imply. But in all actuality, once he started winning, he won so fast in such a dominating fashion that he felt that there was nothing else to conquer or no other challenges by the time he won his 3rd straight championship. And he retired at the top of his game in his prime to go play another sport. See, those were the things that was highlighted about Jordan by the end of the 90s, entering the 2000s. But they trying to use the same talking points or those same standout moments to try to degrade, to try to downgrade them. There was no reason to sit there and bring Michael Jordan up when the segment was supposed to have been about Jayson Tatum. So that whole segment was basically for naught. And that's why ESPN is nowhere near what it used to be. And you hate to say that because You want to see ESPN return back to its previous level. But that's why I say a lot of people are standing in the way. So I just want to throw that out there. And for the Channing Fries of the world, it's not about nostalgia, man. It's not about nostalgia. When I watch NBA games, man, like whatever game I watched yesterday, I'm not comparing it to, oh man, they shoot so much better than players of yesterday. I'm focused on the right now. You know what I'm saying? But I get the impression that the only reason that they follow the NBA is to try to prove that today was better than yesterday. So the motivation, man, the motives ain't genuine, man. And as Michael Jordan once said, you cannot fool the consumer. In all practicality, man, he is the ultimate self-made professional athlete. The ultimate. Instead of, because he is the reason why they keep bringing him up, because he is the standard. That's why if they feel that he wasn't the standard, they wouldn't be talking about him every day. He is the standard. If you're gonna bring his name up, nobody said he was perfect. Nobody said he won every year. Nobody won every year. Bill Russell didn't win every year. See, if a player won a championship every year they was in the league, there's something wrong with the league. That means there's no competition. Something's wrong. Tom Brady didn't win every year that he played in the NFL. Joe Montana won every year he played in the NFL. It's an obsession. And see what it is, man. Like I say, the fans that have gravitated to this type of commentary or the lack thereof and embrace it, they think we're stuck in the past. It's not that. They keep bringing it up. And I keep saying, when Jordan retired in 2003, the basketball world celebrated that moment. He received his much deserved standing ovation. He didn't do no league wide tour announcing his retirement. He played his last game, man, and he rode off into the sunset, dog, as the greatest player that's ever competed in this league. And no matter what they say, that's what he is, dog. Will Chamberlain said, this was Will Chamberlain. He said this back in the 90s. He said every player in the league owe at least 30% of their salary, at least 10% of their salary to Michael Jordan. I'm telling you, I think today's fans, they really don't understand how profound his game was and what he meant to the sport of basketball, what he meant to ESPN. When ESPN was on point, the leader in sports television. They not understanding it, man. But I considered, man, to me, it was a blessing watching that, man. Watching that whole experience. Now, even I was not a fan of Chicago Bulls, but you knew what that man meant to a sport. And how he made everybody raise their game. When he stepped on that court to go up against him, now, you had to raise your game, because if you didn't, you already lost before tip-off. It was already a done deal. You was going to lose. And the Detroit Pistons and the Isaiah Thomases of the world, they knew that. That's why they had to come up with them Jordan rules, dog. See, I'm going to tell it to people just like it is. But like I say, I was focused on Jayson Tatum because he got shafted. And he getting shafted now. He should have won, All-Star Game MVP, but they didn't give it to him. I have my theory as to why he's getting shafted, but I don't want to get off into that because it's just a theory. And I don't want to, try to sway nobody to think a certain way. But the fact of the matter is, The reason why they did that segment ultimately was to take a shot at Michael Jordan. Instead of saying, compare, since they went that route, instead of comparing the age, compare the number of years you've been in the league before you won your first championship. They don't want to do that because you didn't have a one and done era back then. Lord have mercy, boy. And see, they want to make it seem like players were not as good back then because they had to go to college first. Well, that's the natural order of things in whatever you do. It's like a doctor. You have to go to medical school before you take a residency, before you issue your medical license to practice. You can't have one without the other. It's a natural progression. So I just want to throw it out there real quick. I don't know if anybody had caught that segment yesterday, but I'm telling you, man, they trying to use every means, man, to try to downgrade him, dog. And what's crazy is most fans who grew up during that time, they watched him play. There's no need to talk about him every day because we already know what he did. It's like I said, I'm telling you. Oh my God. But you know what? That statue of Michael Jordan that stands in front of the United Center. What does it say? The greatest ever was, ever is, and ever will be. He set the ultimate standard in championship play. But what they need to do is leave that alone and cover the current basketball landscape. But I don't think they have the capability of doing it because the motivation ain't there. I mean, the right motive is not there. The motive isn't genuine. And that's what's creating the clash. We're not doing it. It's the people who have the platform, the major platform, that's doing it, man. But at some point, it'll run its course. At some point. But at the end of the day, Jayson Tatum, he deserves his props because he is the defending champion, especially if they repeat. So I just want to throw that out there. Please leave your comments and share your thoughts. And until next time, this your boy, JB, for BTB. And the name of the show, it is called Behind the Bench.